the imbalances in the mobile sector in view of MTN's dominance in the mobile voice data and SMS service. We would like to shed light on significant market power, SMP, in mobile voice data, SMS, as they relate to MTN, and to clarify issues
regarding the MTN Data Zone Bundle.
So a high-level definition of SMP. Simple put, significant market power is a concept in market competition relating to dominance of an operator in a particular market. In Ghana, the National Telecommunication Policy as dominant if that operator enjoys a position of economic strength that enables it behave to an appreciable extent independently of competitors and users. When a network operator is classified as SMP, regulatory intervention is needed to prevent the dominant operator from abusing its position in the market and to offer an opportunity for correction of the imbalances in competition in the marketplace. To this end, the NCA commenced discussions in July 2014 on regulation of market competition. This led to the appointment of Analysis Mason in November 2015 as a consultant to undertake a study to determine whether any particular operator in Ghana had significant market power in one or several of the relevant voice, including retail and upstream wholesale markets. At the end of the study in 2016, MTN was identified as SMP in retail mobile voice market with a market share of 46%. In October 2019, the NCA commenced a review of competition in the market using monthly and quarterly data statistics from the industry. The review established that MTN fits the definition of a significant market power in the retail mobile voice, data, and SMS markets. Hence, MTN was formally declared SMP in October of 2020. 7 remedial measures were put in place. Now, for the purpose of time and relevance of the discussion today, I'll just concentrate on about 3 of them. But 7 remedies were put in place. Now, these include all pricing by MTN shall be subject to review and approval by NCA. Number 2, MTN tariffs shall conform to the following. A, MTN should have the same tariffs for both on-net and off-net voice calls and SMS. B, MTN should not charge lower than the other MNOs for voice, SMS, and data, meaning they cannot be the lowest in the market. MTN should not charge off-net calls below wholesale interconnect rate. Again, these are just 3 of the 7. Now, so far, MTN has been in compliance with all the SMP measures. However, in January 2023, NCA took note of an MTN product called MTN Data Zone Bundle, a 24-hour data bundle which offered discounts of up to 35% for the various data allocations. Some market players raised concerns about the predatory engage MTN and review the products. It was found that for a number of price points, the MTN Data Zone Bundle was the lowest in the market in violation of the SMP directives. Also, the required prior approval was not obtained before the product was rolled out. Further, the license obligation of all MNOs to publish their tariffs, including the terms and conditions, was not adhered to in respect of this product. MTN was therefore directed to discontinue the product until such time that all violations have been remedied. After a series of engagement with the authority, MTN complied with the directives and the product was withdrawn on 5th April 2023. MTN has since submitted a revised data zone bundle, which has been approved by the authority for implementation. It is our expectation that the product will soon be available to customers. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion on this session, we would like to assure consumers and the general public that the regulatory interventions resulting from the classification of MTN as SMP are intended to sustain choice for consumers and protect consumer interests regarding the provisions of innovative services and competitive pricing. The protection of competition in the marketplace will protect the interests of consumers in the long term. So this brings me to an end of the briefing on the MTN Zone Bundle. Honorable Minister, distinguished media partners, ladies and gentlemen, I now bring you a briefing of the SIM registration exercise and the journey so far. A little background, a little history of SIM registration exercise in the country. This is the second time the SIM registration exercise is being conducted. For those of you who may recall, the first SIM registration exercise commenced on 1st July 2010 and was supposed to run for a year. The exercise was, however, extended, and the Subscriber Identity Module Registration Regulation 2011 LI 2006 was enacted to govern the process. The registration and verification of SIMs and IDs used were the responsibilities of the MNOs per LI 2006. The exercise also began with no verification of IDs used until the NCA set up a temporary SIM registration unit where only manual verification of passports was used for SIM registration. With manual verification, your guess is as good as mine with regard to errors. Let me quickly take you through some of the challenges with the previous SIM registration exercise. The previous SIM registration exercise recorded some challenges which impacted the integrity of SIM databases held by the network operators. These included the use of a manual and unsustainable verification process for the passport for the exercise, as explained above. There was no limit on the number of SIM cards registered by individuals. There was a lack of verification which allowed agents of the MNOs to use IDs of unsuspecting individuals as well as invalid IDs to pre-register SIMs for sale. There was a lack of central SIM register database, SIM registration database. that will allow NCA to independently and adequately monitor the registrations that had been completed, as well as activities of MNOs regarding the SIM registration. Was the use of multiple IDs for registration of SIMs. There's also the inability of security and law enforcement agencies to trace IDs of individuals involved in SIM-related breaches of the law. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the current SIM registration and the modalities. In light of the above, and to address the identified gaps, the Honorable Minister for Communication and Digitalization, Honorable Ursula Owusu-Ekufo, issued a policy directive on the current SIM registration exercise, which commenced on October 1st, 2021, in line with government's digital transformation agenda. Following the announcement, NCA began implementation of the SIM registration exercise in collaboration with the following stakeholders. All the MNOs participated. It says MTN, Vodafone, Airtel, Tigo, Glo, and they all participated. The broadband wireless access providers, government ministries and agencies, including Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, the National Information Technology Agency, NITA, Registrar General Department, Ghana Immigration Service, Data Protection Commission, National Identification Authority. To continuously support and guide the exercise, two stakeholder committees, technical and communications, were put together. An Operational Support Center, OSC, was also set up to provide assistance to consumers and the general public on issues relating to the registration here at the NCA. So what are the modalities of the current SIM registration? After extensive engagement with identified stakeholders, the following modalities were put in place to guide the implementation of the SIM registration exercise. The use of Ghana card for registration of SIMs in accordance with National Identity Register Regulations 2012 LI 2111 and Subscriber Identity Module Registration Regulations 2011 LI 2006. B. Verification of ownership of the Ghana card details against NIA database. And C. Collection of biometric data for verified subscriber after a positive likeness and liveliness check. D. We also have the limit of 10 SIMs per individuals and 3 SIMs per foreign visitors across all networks. And the last but not least, the establishment of a central SIM register in accordance with Executive Instrument 63, 2020. So let me just take you quickly to the registration process. So SIM registration has existed for 2 categories. So there's the category of subscribers who are re-registering and for new subscribers. So we have new subscribers and existing subscribers. So for existing subscribers, you have 2 stages, stage 1 and stage 2. In stage 1, the customer initiates registration of existing SIM by submitting the underlisted Ghana card details via USSD code 404. So here you need to provide your first name and surname. You need to provide your date of birth, the Ghana card PIN, and then your sex. So a successful submission will result in the subscriber being sent a unique code to be used for the second stage of the SIM registration. So in stage 2, the SIM registration app was used to capture the subscriber's biometric information after a successful liveliness and likeliness check. So again, in stage 2, we don't proceed to capture your biometric unless there is a successful liveliness and likeliness check. So at this point, I'd like to use some numbers to explain to you all the journey so far. So I don't know if you all can. Give me a mic. Thank you. So, at the inception of the SIM registration exercise, the cumulative total SIMs that existed in the individual SIM databases that were held by the MNOs were 42,749,709. 42 million. Again, this is the number of active SIMs on 1st October 2021 at the inception of the SIM registration exercise. These were SIMs registered with IDs such as NHIA cards, passports, driver's licenses, etc. A lot of these IDs were not verified at the time they were being used to register the SIMs. So the key point here is we began with a 42,749,709. Next, please. So where are we currently? Where are we currently? Currently, the active SIMs in the system, and we'll explain these numbers quickly. It's 36,571,256. 36,571,256. Now, this is made up of 25,488,962 SIMs that have completed stage 1 and stage 2 of the SIM registration exercise. So again, what this means is that these 25,448,962 are SIMs that are in the current central SIM register, verified, all tied into a Ghana card. And then there's also what we call, there's also 11,122,285 SIMs. Now, these SIMs are active SIMs, but they are not registered in the central SIM register. We will explain why we have this number. Next slide, please. In the process of this exercise, 6,178,452 SIMs have been delinked from the SIM register. So when I say the SIM register here, I'm referring to the cumulative SIM register. So these SIMs were SIMs that existed at the beginning of the exercise, but currently they do not exist. They've been delinked or removed from the SIM register. Why were they delinked? These were SIMs that completed stage 1 but did not complete stage 2. So if anyone completes stage 1, it presupposes that they have what? They have a Ghana card. So they have a Ghana card, they began the process, registered for stage 1, did not do stage 2, and they've been completely delinked from the system. Just like this. So we come back to this data at some point as we go along. But at this point, I want to address some issues arising from the current SIM registration. The first one is registrations exceeding the limit of 10. Registrations exceeding the limit of 10. The limit of 10 SIM registration is for individual subscribers, while corporate entities can register more than 10 SIMs. As a result, there was a need for all SIM registration shared with a central SIM register to be properly classified as either business or individual. Again, the point here is in order for you to be able to enforce this limit of 10, all SIMs have to be properly classified as what? Individual or business. At the beginning of exercise, the NCA noticed that the classification field for SIM registration shared with the central SIM register was not being completed. The MNOs who were not completing the classification field requested for time to reconfigure their databases in order to properly classify the SIM registrations and share SIM with the central SIM register. This gave some subscribers the opportunity to register more than 10 SIMs. Also, at the beginning of a SIM registration exercise, the MNOs complained that a lot of their agents did not have smartphones required for registration of new SIMs in line with the current SIM registration process. As a result, MNOs were allowed to continue to use their legacy platform, which only required the future phone for registration. This opened the process to abuse by some actors in the registration process in stage 1. As part of the monitoring process, the NCA uncovered this abuse and immediately directed all MNOs to discontinue use of their legacy platform for registration. It is important to note that the legacy registration platform only allowed for completion of stage 1 of the SIM registration exercise without biometric capture. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about protecting the integrity of the SIM register. In order to protect the integrity of the SIM register, NCA also directed the MNOs to complete the classification or categorization of all SIM ownership into individual or business SIM. NCA directed MNOs to deactivate all SIMs that are partially registered, stage 1. I just show you the numbers, 6 million plus. Strictly apply the limit of 10 SIMs to individual SIMs. Also develop a solution whereby consumers can use a shortcode to check the number of SIMs registered with their Ghana cards. So MNOs have been directed to implement a uniform shortcode, *402*1#, and you provide certain information. It will now display the number of SIMs that are associated with the particular Ghana card PIN. We will deploy this on 1st May 2023. So by 1st May 2023, you should be able to verify all SIMs that are registered and tied into your particular Ghana card. NCA also directed MNOs to ensure that consumers that want to delink SIM cards from their Ghana cards can do so after a full KYC eyeballing of the consumer by the MNOs. This delinking will also be done only to ensure integrity and to ensure only the right owners of SIMs are allowed to delink. So the point here is you are not only typing *402# *1, but in the event that you identify SIMs that are not yours, right, there's a process for you to delink. The MNOs have been requested to develop enterprise web-based systems for businesses to check and delink SIMs that are no longer in use or unwanted by the business. So ladies and gentlemen, let's look at claims that the SIM database has been breached. We wish to assure the general public that the SIM database has not been breached. In the first place, there has been no unauthorized access to the SIM registration database. They identify abuses of stage 1 processes which have been resolved do not amount to unauthorized access to the SIM registration database. I want to be clear about that. So what's the way forward? Again, in the coming days, MNOs will introduce a system to enable subscribers to check the number and details of the SIM registered in their respective names. Very easy. *402* *402*1#. *402*1#. And if for some reason there's a SIM that is associated with your Ghana card that doesn't belong to you, there's a process that you can follow to get that SIM or SIMs be delinked. Number 2, based on the statistics that we showed earlier, there are about 11 million active unregistered SIMs. 11 million active unregistered SIMs. Now, who do these SIMs belong? They belong to exempted SIMs from Ghanaians on national duties outside Ghana, foreign diplomats, refugees. So Ghanaians on active duties outside Ghana, foreign diplomats have been exempted. But there's also recalcitrant subscribers who have Ghana cards but have refused to register. In fact, there's a lot more of them. Some subscribers who have registered some but not all SIMs. There are a few of us who may have 5 SIMs, but we register 2, and we leave the 3. And of course, subscribers who do not genuinely have what? Ghana cards. How do you address this? One of the things to note is that active mass SIM registration for existing SIMs is coming to a close. Again, I repeat, active mass SIM registration for existing SIMs is coming to a close. As mentioned earlier, we have what? 11 million SIMs which are yet to begin the registration process. So listen to this. The subscriber of these unregistered active SIMs have up to 31st May 2023 to complete their SIM registration or have their SIMs deactivated, delinked from the network. So if you don't go and have the rest of your SIMs, or if you haven't actually done it, you have up to 31st May 2023. The only exemption will be for those I have listed above, the exempted Ghanaians on national duties outside, foreign diplomats, and refugees. Subscribers who do not genuinely have Ghana cards will have to prove that they do not have Ghana cards to prevent SIMs being deactivated. The SIM registration exercise will only be for new SIMs from 1st June 2023. The SIM registration exercise, it will be for new SIMs from 1st June 2023. If you are part of this 11 million and you are not exempted, you are not a foreign diplomat, you are not a refugee, you will be delinked if you do not register. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. We can now state that Ghana has a single central SIM register as mandated by Executive Instrument 63. We can now say that. Again, when we began this exercise, there was no single central SIM registration database. The SIM registration database were held individually at the MNOs. That made it very difficult from a management standpoint to even have visibility into it. As we sit here today, we can now say that there is what? A single central SIM register. B, it is important to note that Ghana now has a SIM database that has integrity. Let me repeat this. It is important to note that Ghana now has a SIM database that has integrity. Why am I saying that? Well, every active registered SIM in the current SIM registration database can be traced to a unique Ghana card. Every active SIM in the SIM registration database. And when I say SIM registration database, I'm referring to the central SIM registration database, not the individual SIM registration database that is held by MNOs. The individual SIM registration that is held by MNOs include those 11 million. Those 11 million, they are not in the central SIM registration database. They are not in the central SIM registration database. The central SIM registration database has 25,448,962, and these can be traced to 13,982,557 unique Ghana cards. Let me repeat. It's important to note that Ghana now has a SIM database that has integrity. Every active registered SIM in the current SIM registration database can be traced to a unique Ghana card. That was not the case at the beginning and onset of the exercise. MNOs, listen to this. A team has been put in place to periodically audit the individual SIM registers held by the MNOs and BWAs to ensure they are consistent with the central SIM register. And any MNO or BWA found to be in breach will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Understand that NCA doesn't do SIM registration. It's the MNOs who do SIM registration. They register new SIMs. They re-register existing SIMs. They are required by directive at the end of the day to make sure that they sync up with the central SIM register. So it cannot happen that we will have a central SIM register that is not consistent with any MNO's own SIM register. That's what I'm saying here. So there's a team at NCA that has been put together that will be doing this periodic audit to make sure that we are in sync. So to our valued consumers, we can assure you that your registration information is safe. Your data has not been breached, and the NCA is working with stakeholders, is committed to ensuring the continuous integrity of the SIM register. We are committed. SIM registration is a key national assignment fundamental to our digital transformation agenda. It is critical for the building of trust and confidence in the use of telecommunication, financial, and other essential services. A reliable SIM register will support security and law enforcement activities to safeguard our common peace and to promote socio-economic development. We count on all stakeholders, including you, the media, to drive the support to enable us achieve a successful SIM registration exercise. Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister, this exercise has been a collaborative one involving several persons and institutions, and we wish to acknowledge them. We would like to express our profound gratitude to His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for the decision to embark on this very important exercise aimed at using telecommunication space to propel the digital transformation agenda. We also thank the Vice President of the Republic, His Excellency Mahamudu Bawumia, for his contribution to the success of this effort. It will be recalled that the first meeting by key stakeholders to discuss the process of using Ghana Card to verify SIMs in the country was held and chaired by His Excellency, the Vice President, in his office on 12 April 2021. 12 April 2021. We wish to acknowledge the Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Honorable Esla Owusu-Ekufo, for providing policy direction and continuous support to this exercise. Our appreciation goes to the Board of Directors of NCA, chaired by Mr. Isaac E. Osei Bonsu Jr., for taking key interest in the SIM registration exercise and providing relevant guidance for the success of this important national assignment. We wish to extend our appreciation to the MNOs and BWS. Yeah, I mean MTN, Vodafone, Airtel Tigo, and Telesur. We wish to extend our appreciation to the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications. We wish to extend our appreciation to Ministry of Information and other ministries and sister agencies, civil society organizations, among others. Special thanks to the National Identification Authority, the National Information Technology Agency, and the SIM Registration Technical Partners, Kali GBG. We are also thankful to consumers for their participation in this exercise, and the media for all the publicity, your interviews, calls, and quest for media engagement have in no small way impacted positively on the success of this exercise. Thank you for your presence and your attention. Sure. I have to write it.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe let me get my book.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. John Mochi, for the briefing. We'll take questions now. The format we have is that of the microphone being placed. Can you get a microphone stand? Here, and then we'll take 3 questions at a time. Then DJ and the team will then answer, and then move on to the next 3. So I'll suggest that if you have questions, please line up in front of the microphones. We'll take the first 3 questions. Kindly say your name, your media house, and then ask your question. Let's keep it 1 question at a time, please, for now. So questioners, please, let's see you lined up in front of the microphone.
Good morning. My name is Nanoya. I work with Asasi Radio. From the background you gave on the MTN issue, it's obvious that the network flouted the rules. Are there going to be sanctions? And why did it take months for you to, and also agitation from the other telcos for you to take an action? Don't you have a system to monitor the services and packages of the telcos? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next question, please.
My name is...
hold on a second, please. Yes.
My name is Kester Crunchy. I write for Daily Graphic. When it was announced that to be done the registration of devices so that we run concurrently, but that hasn't happened. So I wanted to find out when we are going to register devices.
All right, thank you, Kester. Many more questions, please, before the G takes up. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Ibrahim Al-Hassan, GH1 TV, Star FM. Yes, I just want to find out, in your submission, you mentioned that during the SIM card registration exercise or the process, when you submit your Ghana card, it's verified. I want to find out what form this verification takes. If it's indeed verified, then how come we have some other SIMs that do not belong to some subscribers haven't been registered with their Ghana card? And what's that? What is the relationship and collaboration between the NCA and the National Identification Authority relative to this SIM card registration exercise?
Thank you very much. And then we'll take the next 3.
So Nanawe, thank you for your question. So the question, if I may repeat, so your question was MTN flouted the rules, and what is NCA going to do about it? And don't we actually have a system to monitor? Very, very valid, good questions. So the SMP have been in place in a little over a year, and so we continue to monitor. And as I stated in my submission, that was actually the very first time that MTN have flouted any of the conditions that were attached to SMP. And so a decision was taken that since this was the first time, you have to caution them. So that's what we did. Right? We wrote to them to caution that this is going to be the last time. Again, SMP has been in place for 2 years, and that was actually the very first time. So the NCA actually have what we call the SMP desk. It's actually a team headed by a gentleman here, seated here. And so we continue to monitor, but it takes, it's not like you enter a room and you turn on the light and the light is on. There's a lot of technical analysis that should be done. And that's exactly what we did to identify that a breach had occurred. Again, we are very serious about SMP, and MTN knows that. They've been very cooperative. And each time there are issues, we call immediately and have meetings to have it resolved. But on your question number one, if it happens again, certainly there will be sanctions. So, tester, right? Daily graphic. Registration of devices. So, yes, that is in the works. Doing the SIM registration exercise alone is a lot of work. Trying to add the device registration will have compounded it. So, very soon you should hear from us on the registration of devices. But that is actually going on in a way at the background, because anytime that you are connected to the network, right, the network actually knows your device. So actual implementation will be much easier because of this SIM registration exercise. So what does it really mean that when you submit your Ghana card, it is verified? So the SIM registration exercise have 2 stages, stage 1 and stage 2, stage 1 and stage 2. So in stage 1, what we are verifying is ownership of the Ghana card. And it's actually a 2-step process. So the data that you input on the shortcode is captured by your MNO and verified against their KYC database. And if it comes close to what is there, approval is given for submission of the last name and the Ghana card PIN to NIA, right, for verification against the NIA database. So again, what NIA is verifying is ownership. NIA is not, there's no biometric verification, and it's verification of ownership. And so again, this explains your last question. There's collaboration with NIA. So that's why, if you can you put the slide that shows the number of SIMs in the central database? So all the 25 million plus SIMs have been verified against a Ghana card that was issued by what? NIA. This could not be done if there's no collaboration between NCA and NIA. Thank you. Yes, again, one of the positive things that have happened now, if you are in law enforcement or security or any other service, you can verify every SIM that is in a central register to what? To a Ghana card. You can verify that, which is a very positive. And I think as Ghanaians, we should all be proud that at least we have a digital ecosystem that have very good verification tied into it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions, please? Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ajahn Tinkram. I work with MX24 Television. So my question is on the SMP directive. I just want to find out how the declaration of MTN as an SMP helped correct the market imbalances since 2020. And also you said that this is in the long run going to help the consumer But when MTN suspended their data zone bundle, a lot of consumers were complaining. So if you could tell us how exactly the consumer is going to benefit from this.
Thank you. Yes.
Kingsley, Ghanaian Times.
Hold on a second, please.
Kingsley, Ghanaian Times. I want to find out of the Ghanaian Times, out of the 11 million unregistered SIMs, how many belong to foreign diplomats, refugees, exempted?
Want the breakdown of the 11 million?
Yes,
Okay.
and what happens to Ghanaians who have genuinely not gotten their Ghana card after the deadline? What happens to them? Is there going to be a window for them?
Please speak up a bit. I'm sure your colleagues can hear you. What happens to those
Who have
Ghanaians who don't have Ghana cards?
Yeah, genuinely don't have Ghana cards.
Okay.
What happens to them after the deadline?
All right, sure. Thank you very much. One after this, please. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Crosby. I work with TV3. This is what I'd like to find out. So,
The first name again?
Crosby. So, amongst the reasons for instituting beginning the SIM card re-registration was to reduce the instances of fraud. So, for those who have had their Ghana cards unknowingly used to register multiple SIM cards that may be involved in illegalities, what can they do in the meantime until the 1st May beginning, where they could, delink their numbers? Plus, how come we're still, recording instances of fraud, people calling you, I work with this, and then how are we registrations and regulations? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Charles, please. Charles from Graphic, and then DG would take up the answers.
I think he mentioned my name already, so let's go ahead. Of the 6 million that had been deactivated, can you give us a breakdown? And then 2, with the
Breakdown was in what? Explain that, please.
a breakdown as in which
MNOs.
MNOs, yes. Now, secondly, I want to know, with the SMP, we know that it is meant to ensure that those that are not up to, are not very competitive, can match up to the market leader. If you look at what is happening in the sector now, you see that the smaller ones are not putting in any investments, substantive investments to come up. When are we going to see them do such investments so that they can match what the market leader is doing? Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG.
So, Ajwa, I think you wanted to understand the process that leads to the SMP. Right? It's actually it's a laid down process. The key is you really need to follow the process. Because one of the things that had happened was, recall that when we announced that MTN was SMP, they actually did take us to court. You can imagine if we had not followed the process, we would have had issues with that. So that's a separate thing that it was going to take a long time to actually take you through. But if you want, we can sit with you and brief you. Okay. Yes. Okay. So the other one that I need to add to that is, can we take me to? We don't have that. Yes. She doesn't have it. Yeah. So go to the next slide. Next slide. Keep going. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Keep going. So that was before. Yes. So actually, I even want to use the asymmetric.
So if I understood the question, you want to know how the impact on the business as of now.
So this was.
I will just stay on the chat.
So this, if you look at the one on the left, that was December 2019, pre-commencement of the review of data that have come in for us to make a decision. So you could see that at that time, MTN, and this is voice actually, MTN was 55% voice, Vodafone 22, Airtel Tigo 21, and Glo was 2%. Right now, if you fast forward to February 2023. So fast forward. So if you fast forward to February 2023, for voice, MTN is 67%, Vodafone is 18%, Airtel Tigo is 15%. Now, a lot had happened in between. At the time, the SMP was enacted to the point that we are. There are several factors that can actually, we can. Now, I think if you go back to the last question that was asked by Charles, it is part of the factors. So one of the things we have learned is that it's not only just tagging one player as an SMP, but it's also important for the other parties to also up their game. As a matter of fact, as part of the remedies, there's one of them that we call asymmetric termination, right? Asymmetric interconnection. So the goal here is we made it in such a way that it will cost you 30%. It will cost the non-SMP players 30% less, right, when they terminate on MTN, right? Now, I'll show you a slide. I'll show you a slide that, do you have that slide?
Which one?
Okay, good. Let's go through the SMP slides. Keep going.
One slide back. One more. Thank you.
Okay. So, again, if you look at this, based on the asymmetric interconnection, which is one of the remedies, you see that the industries have saved 86,784,227.541. So Vodafone alone have saved what? 50 million plus, right? Glo 1.6, Airtel Tigo 34.7. So it's a series of remedies that you put in place. Now some of them, there's again, the question somebody will ask, so what happened to this money? Where was it used? And so on. It's a whole discussion that we can get into some other time. So Kingsley, the question was the details of the 11 million plus. Details of the 11 million plus. So that information, we can make it available, hopefully, maybe before the end of the week. But it is made up of foreign dignitaries that are in the country, Ghanaians that are on national assignments, the disabled, but majority of them are actually Ghanaians who have not registered their SIMs. Because even when we began this exercise, I believe the number of Ghanaians that were outside, I believe were around 400K. And the exemptions that we've given to foreign service, it's completely, it will be less than 100K. So a good number of this 11 million plus, right, are Ghanaians who either don't have Ghana card or have Ghana card but decide that for one reason or the other, right, they will not register. Hopefully we'll find out who they are come end of May. So what happens if you don't have a Ghana card? That's a very difficult question, right? So the goal is you have to prove that you don't have a Ghana card. Just be here and we won't make any progress. But I can promise you that most of these 11 million are actually individuals who have actually what? Registered. Some of you are actually sitting right here, you know it. Can you raise up your hand if you haven't registered? Right, so it's possible that a person has 5 SIMs, but they only want to register what? 2 of them. And that's why it's important that we set a hard deadline. And so it's going to be 31st, and we'll cross the bridge when we get it. So, will a credible SIM register completely eliminate fraud? I doubt that will be the case. But it will minimize fraud. It will also give security and law enforcement the ability to go after those who are engaged in SIM-related fraudulent activities. All right? Because now they can trace, they can find you. Prior to this, requests will come in, and when you go check the SIM database, it's a 2-year-old kid somewhere whose ID, right, has been used. It's a 5-year-old, it's a 10-year-old, right? It's not going to happen anymore. We have a centralized SIM register that can be trusted. It will enhance the job of security and law enforcement. And then understand that a good number of these SIMs that we delinked were those SIMs that were being used to perpetuate all the issues. 6 million plus is gone, and no one is complaining. That tells you that where they are coming from. So gradually, you know, the size is shrinking. By the time it's all said and done, if you add, it will be maybe about 30 or 32 or maybe less. Right? We will have actually delinked more than 10 million SIM plus by the time it's all said and done. So the breakdown of the 6 million. So we can provide that statistics to you. But again, the 6 million plus are SIMs that completed stage 1, but did not proceed to complete stage 2. That data is available. We can always get to you. I believe, Charles, was there another question that you asked? Okay, that's okay. All right.
Right, thank you. We're just about to wrap up. 2 more questions. Can I have a different microphone, please? But for now, someone from Facebook was asking, Didi, I've learned that every subscriber is entitled to register 10 SIM cards with the Ghana card. I've witnessed situations where people have been denied the opportunity to register their SIM because they have reached the 10 slots given to them. Meanwhile, the subscriber has registered only 2 SIMs. How is this possible? How can it be corrected for those concerned?
Okay. Thank you. What's the name?
Ernest.
Ernest. How are you doing, Ernest? So that's actually a great question. So recall that at the onset, we said a couple of things happened. In the SIM register, there's a concept that is called classification. So a SIM has to be classified as whether it belongs to an individual or it belongs to a business, right? If it belongs to an individual, then per the rule, right, the person who owns the Ghana card can only have 10, right? If it's a business, it's unlimited. Now, what happened was some of the MNOs were not doing the classification, right? So if we are not doing the classification, then it leaves room for folks to actually register SIMs. And then also, because new registration required the use of the app. New registration required the use of the app. Well, you can't use an app if you have a YAM phone, right? And most of the phones that the MNOs were using for the legacy SIM registration were feature phones, YAM phone and so on. So they were allowed to, in the interim, use these YAM phones to begin the registration process. And it is our view that it was at that point that, you know, some unscrupulous actors, right, you know, because some people will just go and then they will leave their Ghana card. They leave the Ghana card because there's a long queue, so they don't want to wait. They will leave the Ghana card, and then agents will take a copy of your Ghana card. Now remember, what NIA is doing is they are verifying ownership. So as long as an owner is established and you are not there, then agent can now do what? Register. So that's what happened. But mostly it's on the stage one. Mostly it's on stage one. And most of the stage one only SIMs have been what? As we speak, have been what? Delinked. They have been delinked. It's not possible for that to happen anymore. Again, in order for you to be in the SIM register, let me repeat, you should have completed what? Stage one and what? Stage two, right? To complete stage two, you should have passed the liveliness and the likeliness test before we proceed to capture your biometrics. So it's going to be difficult for someone else to take your Ghana card and register more today. Because of the loophole, you know, a lot of the some of the agents actually took advantage of that to cause that issue.
Thank you very much. Yes, we are done. I believe we are done. We want to make sure media catches the midday news, so we need to wrap up this quickly. Thank you very much, Mr. Joe Anochi, Director General of the NCA. Up next, I'll kindly call Minister for Information, Honorable Kojo Ponkroma, to give us his remarks. Kojo.
But after Joe has spoken, what more do I have to say? To Joe and the colleagues at the NCA, I think first we want to thank you for this very detailed presentation, which provides a lot of education for all of us. And I just want to highlight something very simple for the benefit of our colleagues who are here. The 1st of October 2021 is when this exercise commenced. By the May deadline, it would have gone on for 1 year, 7 months. You all have reported various instances where when a deadline is introduced, you have scores of people showing up ostensibly to register, and then the moment an announcement is made of an extension, everybody disappears. But at some point, this exercise must come to an end. And it is important, we believe, for you to help admonish the general public that this is in our collective interest for two primary reasons. Number one, it ensures that SIM-related transactions happen in a safe, may I say, ecosystem. So all these transactions, whether it's Momo or voice or data or other related transactions, that sort of cyberspace, if I can call it so, is a safe space because the identities of the SIMs that are doing the transactions are known. And that is in our collective interest. And on top of that, in the broader security environment, because communication is a major instrument for daily living and for daily activities, including crime, when this exercise is successful, it ensures that in the bigger security environment, there is some deepened security, especially for persons who do anything relating to SIM cards, whether people are even talking on phones to commit a crime, and you can triangulate and see who was where, depending on which mast was where at a point in time, or who was being paid from what account. Once all of those are linked, it's in our collective interest. Quite recently, there was a government delegation that was out of town to do some work. I was part of it, and we needed local SIMs. Everybody had to bring their passports to, have those SIMs registered. And we're all excited when we watch television and you watch a crime series and they are looking for somebody and they can triangulate the numbers and find it. It can be done here, but it requires the compliance of you and I. And so my final comment of you to help us to admonish the general public. There are 11 million SIMs that are still outstanding. The timeline is now slated for the 31st of May. Let us not do the same thing where we all rush 4 days to the 31st, and then you, our colleagues in the media, will come out and say the public is calling on the government to extend the timelines. And then government would have to now consider doing an extension. Then the moment the extension is announced, everybody does what? Disappears. Please help us to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kojo Nkrumah, Minister for Information. So this is what is going to happen. I know some media may want exclusive interviews. Mr. Joe Anochi will be present after this for the discussion. But before I finish the wrap-up, kindly would call, we're joined along the line by Mr. Alexander Afo, Acting Chief Director for the Ministry of Communication. Thanks for joining us, sir. And again, on the subject of interviews, the Director for Consumer and Corporate Affairs at NCA, Nana Difebedu, will take the 3 interviews as well, whilst DG would handle the English interviews for today. But before all of that will happen, the Honourable Minister for Information would like to pay a quick visit to the Broadcast Monitoring Centre on the ground floor here at the NCA. So media, please, Kweku would coordinate that. Kindly follow Kweku and the DG and the Minister downstairs for that. And then when that is done, DG and then Nana Difebedu will be up here to do all the exclusive interviews that you wish for as well. Thanks so much for making time to join us here at the NCA. We are glad that you came. Have a good day. My men are good to see you. My men are okay.